These are the ingredients of corruption, by the way. This is the same corruption that happens in governments. This is the same corruption that happens in churches and synagogues, by the way. We're no different. Same corruption. This is a form of corruption. This is absolutely a form of corruption. I went to a masjid one time in the US where nobody knew who the board is. So who's on the election? Who's on the board? Nobody knows. It's a secret board. So how do you get on it? Nobody knows. It's a secret. Who donates to the masjid? That's a secret too. We don't know. It's built and it's taken care of. And all kinds of weird programs happen at the masjid, but nobody can say anything because it's all closed book. Wow, that's pretty amazing. The mafia at the masjid. It's amazing. You know? So masjid is one prime example, right? Because that's the most prominent Muslim organization there is. Before there's any other organization in the community, there is the masjid. But there's a school, there's a Sunday school. Sunday schools have dictatorships. I've seen them. I've seen Sunday school dictatorships, Islamic school dictatorships. I've seen gangs inside Islamic schools, you know, of committees. I've seen them. This is the problem. Bias. One, money or no money. Ethnicity versus the other ethnicity. Allah says, now, فَاللَّهُ أَوْلَى بِهِمَا فَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا الْهَوَىٰ أَن تَعْدِلُوا. Don't follow your empty desires that you should do justice. Don't give in to your whim. Don't assume, and by the way, when people have a lot of money, they assume they understand more than everybody else. Why don't people understand this is the right thing to do? See, people if you ask their suggestions, they're stupid. That's what comes in their head. Because they're already more qualified in terms of wealth, that must mean they're more qualified intellectually too. Automatic. Nobody else understands. And their whims become the right thing to do. Don't let your whims come in the way of doing justice. Dealing fairly. In any matter of collective work. Now Allah adds the last part, the very powerful part. وَإِن تَلْوُوا أَوْ تُعْرِضُوا. And lay in Arabic is to twist your tongue, to manipulate your tongue. أَن يَتَلَاعَبَ بَعْدَ الْفَاظِ. So play around with words. You know who does that really well? Lawyers. Right? The lawyer says, hey, so what verdict do you want? Guilty or not? And then he'll create an entire case. Proof. Actually, when you go to law school and they have trial cases and debates and things like that, you get to pick a side, pro and con. I'm against the death penalty, I'm for the death penalty. And 20 minutes later, they'll switch sides. And he'll make an equally good case against it that he just made for it. Why? Because they mastered the science, the art and the science of twisting your tongue to make a case. To be able to make a compelling case, however well. So if you're eloquent, if you're well-spoken, you can basically make a case for anything. So one kind of power is wealth. Another kind of power is this guy over here. It's very powerful. It's very powerful, especially if you're compelling. You can move crowds this way or that way. If you have the mic, and you can twist information, you can present partial information, you can cry wolf, you can do all kinds of things. And people will be like, yeah, subhanAllah, he made the announcement, I was so upset. This happened and that happened. You know? And if you twist your tongue, you manipulate evidence. That would be the modern way of saying it. You manipulate evidence. And what's the other thing? Sometimes there's evidence that goes against your own case. You know it's there, and you know if you bring it up, you lose the case. So you just pretend it's not there. You conveniently don't even bring it up. Or you ignore deliberately. These are all mechanisms by which justice is destroyed. To not even bring up what could have destroyed your case. You don't even bring it up. If you're fair, you're going to say, here's my position, but here's the evidence against it that I've come across. But no, you try to hide that evidence. You try to hide that testimony, or undermine that testimony, or pay off that testimony. وَإِن تَلْوُوا أَوْ تُعْرِضُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرًا. Then Allah has always known what you've been up to. Allah Azza wa Jalla has always known what you've been up to. This is the essence of what I wanted to highlight, the generalities of justice, before we go into specifics. Now in a group, there are followers and there are leaders, yes? There's the team, there's the team manager, there's the amir of the organization, there's the group, there's the committee, etc., etc. There are different components of an organization. The reason I brought this dars up first is every one of them should be thinking about justice. The leader and the follower, the volunteer and the donator, the accountant and the president. Everybody should be thinking about absolutely clear justice, not taking any sides, being a piece of a larger puzzle. If the purpose of Islam is to bring justice to society. We will absolutely fail in doing so if we cannot even bring justice to our own organizations. How are we going to do that? What are we talking about? If there's not even justice inside these four walls, then forget justice outside. How can we complain about the corruption of anybody else? We have no right. We have no right. We're supposed to be the examples of it. So this is what I wanted to start with before we get into this subject. And inshallah ta'ala from the next installments, which are going to come a while from now, as was mentioned, I'll be out a couple of weeks. The next installments are going to be, what are the qualities of followers in an organization? When you're a follower, when you're not the leader, you're the follower. What are their qualities? And how can they avoid injustice? And what are their rights? What are their responsibilities? From the Qur'an's point of view. Then we'll look at what are the qualities of leaders. What are the qualities a leader is supposed to have? Then we'll look at discipline. Finally, the last thing we'll look at is the discipline of an organization. What is the importance of discipline? And not having it, what will it do to an organization? And having it, what are the challenges to discipline? What are the challenges that can destroy an organization? These are the few lessons that we have left ahead of us, inshallah ta'ala. And I pray that these reminders for myself and for all of you lead to us running better organizations, cleaner organizations. And that it helps us do the work of this deen in a way that pleases Allah Azza wa Jalla. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الحكيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم والسلام عليكم.